Mother Mitzi accidentally stepped on a sheet of music worth $30,000, and she discarded it casually after a quick glance. But her son Sammy picked up the sheet music as if it were a treasure, and from the broken notes, he glimpsed an invention capable of changing the world. He immediately took out a film reel of his recent gunfight footage and used tools to punch dent small holes in the film, successfully creating the effect of gunfire sparks in the images. In an era without special effects technology, this innovation amazed everyone. The next day, Sammy was inspired again during filming. He first set up wooden planks in a dirt pit, covered them with sand, so that actors stepping on them could simulate landmine explosions and dust clouds on the battlefield. Then, he buried firecrackers in the soil, and by precisely controlling the detonation timing, recreated the stunning scenes of machine gun fire. Additionally, Sammy filled balloons with red ink to act as blood plasma, allowing actors to burst them at the moment of being shot, making the gunshot scenes more realistic. However, Sammy still felt something was lacking, so he arranged for an actor to play the commander of the team. These soldiers were all family members who had risked their lives with him. This was originally a battle that could have been avoided, but due to the commander's decision, all subordinates sacrificed themselves. The actor understood and then walked out from among the ruins filled with soldier corpses, filled with sorrow. Yellow sand filled the sky, and everywhere were fallen brothers. The commander walked alone across this battlefield strewn with corpses, and Sammy watched his back, deeply moved, a sense of loneliness and grief rising within him. The actor was even more immersed in his character's emotions, as if everything had truly happened, until Sammy called "cut," and everyone resumed action. He still could not shake off the scene for a long time. Soon, Sammy's film was screened at school. The intense battlefield scenes made viewers feel as if they were there, watching the splattering blood and the brutal deaths, which brought a huge shock to the young minds. At the end of the film, the lonely figure of the commander moved everyone present, including Mitzi, to tears. After the screening, Mitzi approached Sammy, intending to praise her son's achievement, but Sammy showed disdain and turned away. Even Uncle Benny, who had cared for him since childhood, was ignored as Sammy walked past. Mitzi was puzzled, as she had always been Sammy's strongest supporter in filmmaking. But she did not know that it was this support that led Sammy to inadvertently discover the secret relationship between her and Benny. Years ago, when his parents first took Sammy to the cinema, the scene of a train collision on the screen was so realistic and shocking that it left him unable to calm down for a long time. On the way home, his deep blue eyes still shimmered with obsession over that scene. Thus, Sammy expressed his wish to his father bird, hoping to get a miniature model train set as a holiday gift. After receiving the gift, he eagerly started the train. When the little train came rushing towards him, the shocking feeling from the movie surged again in his heart. In order to recreate the scene from the film, Sammy quietly took out his toy car late at night, but the shock caused by the collision startled him, and the sound of the shells being touched also drew his parents' attention. Bert, an engineer, preferred to analyze rationally, believing it was Sammy's prank, and scolded him to take good care of his toys and go to sleep quickly. Although Sammy agreed verbally, he kept recalling the scene of the train collision in his mind. Unlike him, Mitzi, a pianist, was sensitive and thoughtful. She was wide awake and wondered why her son was obsessed with the scene of a train crash. The next day, she took her husband's camera and encouraged Sammy to film the train collision scene, so he could watch it repeatedly until he no longer felt afraid. With Mitzi's support, Sammy developed his first film in his life. When he got the film reel, he didn't even bother to eat and eagerly invited Mitzi to watch it together. Surprisingly, the film perfectly recreated the scene of a train derailment, with lights flickering across faces, flickering on and off like a dream. Sammy would later become the outstanding director Steven Spielberg. This is a true autobiographical story. After watching his work, Mitzi gave high praise, which made Sammy more and more dedicated and almost obsessed with filmmaking. Sammy's two sisters became his frequently collaborating exclusive actors in his films. To simulate a scene of bleeding after tooth extraction, Sammy made his sister swallow a large spoonful of ketchup and had his older sister play the role of the dentist. The screams from his sister during filming even alarmed Mitzi. However, Mitzi always remained patient with the children's creations, which encouraged Sammy to try various filming techniques. He once pulled out all the toilet paper in the house, wrapped it around his two sisters, and filmed a death mummy scene. At that moment, Mitzi, who was using the bathroom, could only helplessly wait for rescue. Sammy even designed a simple rope mechanism to capture his sister's most genuine reactions. With a gentle pull, a skeleton prop would suddenly appear from the wardrobe, causing the sisters to scream in fright. As Sammy's filming skills improved, Bert's career also rapidly advanced. Due to Bert's promotion and job transfer, the family had to leave their longtime home in New Jersey and move to the scenic Arizona with him. Just as the whole family was excited and happy about this, Mitzi only cared whether Benny would go with them. Unlike her rational and boring husband, Benny was humorous and romantic, always able to provide her comfort amid dull family chores. After learning that Benny would part ways with them, Mitzi became emotionally agitated and had a fierce argument with Bert. Just at this moment, a tornado appeared in the sky. She immediately shoved the youngest child into her husband's arms and recklessly drove the car with the 3 children to chase the tornado's trail. Until she saw the shopping cart in the supermarket tumbling and rushing down the street, she suddenly realized the danger and stopped abruptly. Noticing the sadness inadvertently revealed beneath his wife's seemingly romantic exterior, Bert finally chose to yield. Taking advantage of his position, he arranged for Benny to be transferred to New City as well. On the way, the fulfilled Mitzi smiled especially brightly, but Sammy did not know how many secrets were hidden behind that smile. After arriving in the new city, Sammy still persisted in his dream of making movies. Entering high school, he was not interested in discussing whether he liked a girl like his peers, but was solely focused on the big screen. Here, he made a group of like-minded friends. One day, inspired by a movie, Sammy decided to shoot a short film about desert bandits. To realize his dream, the whole family helped with the filming. Bert helped blow sand to create a scene of a raging sandstorm while soothing the complaints of the wagon owner. Due to the primitive props and techniques, Sammy felt that the gunfight scenes in the film looked too fake. Just as he was troubled by this, Mitzi, wearing high heels, accidentally stepped on a sheet of music. Sammy stared at the small holes in the sheet music and suddenly burst out with new inspiration. Then he punched similar small holes into the film. This idea ultimately earned Sammy his first award for filmmaking. Although Bert highly appreciated Sammy's talent, he was also worried that he would indulge in hobbies and neglect his proper duties. After all, filmmaking was indeed a costly investment. However, to celebrate Sammy's award, he still took the whole family and Benny out for camping in the countryside on the weekend. After arriving at the campsite, Sammy hurriedly threw himself into filming. Bert took this opportunity to earnestly teach the children about life principles. Meanwhile, Mitzi and Benny were playing around a big tree, and soon the children, attracted by their joyful laughter, joined in. Although Bert looked displeased, he did not say much. By the campfire at night, Benny took the lead as the main singer, leading the innocent children to dance with cheerful songs. Bert sat quietly aside. Being an engineer, he was not good at art and found it hard to join in the lively scene. Later, a tipsy Mitzi danced gracefully on the grass. At this moment, both Benny and Bert were deeply enchanted by her captivating dance, while Sammy quietly captured the scene with his camera. However, happy times always pass too quickly. The next day, news of his grandmother's death arrived, and Mitzi was plunged into deep sorrow. Even when playing her favorite piano piece, she was shrouded in profound sadness. T.O. comforted his wife. Bert hoped Sammy could edit and organize the camping footage into a special feature for Mitzi, perhaps to help her cheer up. But Sammy was fully immersed in his war film creation and unwilling to spare time to handle this matter. However, the next day, Sammy changed his mind. An uncle who had worked in Hollywood came to visit, and upon learning that Sammy was passionate about filmmaking, he discussed the art of cinema and the inextricable family bonds within it. The uncle then sighed, saying that Mitzi could have become a renowned pianist, but now she was trapped by family ties and became a housewife. It was only then that Sammy truly realized how much his mother had sacrificed for the family. The uncle left hurriedly after just one day, but his words deeply influenced Sammy's values. In the following days, Sammy began editing the camping documentary for his mother, but while organizing the footage, he unexpectedly discovered his mother's secret. He initially noticed that his mother and Benny behaved intimately, thinking it was just a casual cuddle. However, after switching through several reels of film, Sammy found that his mother's gaze on Benny was always filled with love, and her sincere smile could not be disguised. At that moment, Sammy suddenly realized that his family was facing a grave crisis. It also made him aware that as a director, he was destined to see what ordinary people could not see, including truths hidden beneath appearances. Although initially difficult to accept, to maintain the integrity of the family, Sammy deliberately deleted those scenes, leaving only warm and beautiful moments. This film indeed pleased Mitzi greatly. She was delighted and wanted to embrace her son, but at that moment, Sammy had already developed to estrangement and even hostility towards his mother. From then on, Sammy opposed everything his mother did. Mitzi finally could not bear it and erupted into a fierce argument with Sammy, even slapping him in a fit of rage. This act shocked the entire family. Sammy, furious, turned and left, filled with resentment and grievance. Soon after, Mitzi entered the room to apologize to Sammy. Sammy was speechless for a moment. He could not accept his mother's behavior, but was reluctant to expose her face to face. So he silently took out a cut version of the tape and asked his mother to watch alone. Then, Sammy quietly waited outside the door. When the figures of the two appeared on the screen, his mother suddenly understood everything. Guilt surged like a tide, and in the dim room, time seemed to freeze. She was blank-minded, staring blankly at the end. Mother slowly unplugged the power and collapsed to the ground, crying uncontrollably. Seeing his mother so grief-stricken, the soft-hearted Sammy promised her that he would keep this secret forever. Soon after, Bert was transferred again for work. and this time they moved to a remote part of the West. Previously, the mother, who was unwilling to move, unexpectedly agreed to the relocation plan this time. However, at this moment, the family was on the brink of breaking apart. Sammy blamed everything on the camera, believing it was the root of the family conflicts. So he came to the store intending to sell the camera and was determined never to get involved in movies again. After learning that Sammy's family was about to move away, Benny also came to the store and prepared a gift for Sammy. He gave Sammy a brand new camera on the spot. But Sammy showed no gratitude. In his eyes, Benny had almost destroyed his family, and thinking of this made him feel a wave of disgust. Benny seemed to sense his feelings and advised that if Sammy gave up his beloved photography, his mother would also be saddened by it. This made Sammy hesitate, but he still refused to show weakness to Benny, so he took out all the cash he had and insisted on buying the camera himself. However, at parting, Benny pushed all the money back into Sammy's hands. Soon after, Bert set out with his family for their new home. On the way, Mitzi kept pretending to smile, but as the vehicle gradually drove away, her attachment to Benny deepened. During the journey, Bert mentioned he had a strange dream, in which Benny gave him a green hat, and his words seemed to imply something. This undoubtedly made Mitzi feel even more distressed. When getting off the car, Mitzi tried to hide her emotions, and Sammy hurried forward to comfort his helpless mother. Mitzi explained to her children that she had never crossed the line with Benny. She had wanted to talk to Bert about their issues many times, but always held back. Bert was so outstanding that she had no reason to leave, nor did she want to destroy this happy family with her own hands. Therefore, the two could only bury all their unspoken words deep in their hearts, letting their chaotic emotions sink into the soil. The environment of the new family was not as good as before, and Mitzi became increasingly melancholic, her longing for Benny growing stronger. No matter how hard Bert tried, he seemed unable to reach her inner heart. Obviously, the dull marriage had long dulled the passion they once shared. However, the adults' troubles had not yet been resolved, and Sammy's worries had quietly arrived. Due to regional differences, students at the new school were tall, and Sammy, being the only Jewish student among them, appeared out of place. One day during a basketball game, Sammy was deliberately targeted by classmates. Enraged, he fought back on the spot, but accidentally angered the school bully. The bully warned Sammy to be careful in the future, or he would deliver a fatal blow while Sammy was drinking water. Weak and timid, Sammy dared not resist and could only endure in silence. When he returned home with a worried face, he found that his mother had raised a monkey, and she even named it after Benny. For a moment, the whole family was disturbed by this monkey, and Sammy's mood became even more depressed. That night, Bert believed Mitzi should see a psychologist, but Mitzi felt she was beyond help. In fact, Bert had long noticed her abnormality, and this time, Bert's honesty also revealed Mitzi's true inner feelings. The next day, after returning to school, Sammy still felt lingering fear that Sammy's locker was filled with a prejudiced anti-Semitic bagel, and he had to be extra careful even when drinking water. Fearing an ambush by bad students, he wanted to endure his thirst and go to class first, but accidentally witnessed a scandal involving school bullies having an affair at the staircase. Terrified, Sammy quickly turned to escape, but just as he stepped out, he encountered the bully's accomplice, and when he looked back again, he saw the bully leading his girlfriend Claudia walking towards him. Sammy was caught in the middle, with nowhere to run. Mocking Sammy had long become a regular pastime for this group. However, Claudia couldn't tolerate this and advised them to stop the racial discrimination, so the bully had to temporarily let Sammy go. Unexpectedly, the bully's accomplice didn't stop and forced Sammy to apologize to Claudia immediately, fabricating a series of false accusations. Seeing this, Claudia angrily turned and left, and the bully also stepped forward to order Sammy to apologize to Claudia. Sammy finally couldn't hold back and blurted out what he saw at the staircase, which made Claudia even angrier. Sure enough, a moment of toughness only provoked more intense anger, and the bully punched Sammy to the ground that Sammy's nose bled profusely, but he dared not resist. Then the bully threatened him to explain to Claudia, demanding he admit that everything he said was a lie. Helpless, Sammy could only nod in agreement. When Sammy returned home in a sorry state, his parents anxiously asked what had happened, but this caused Sammy's emotional breakdown. He vented all his long-standing resentment of being oppressed on a Bert, accusing Bert of moving multiple times against his family's wishes, which led to him being bullied repeatedly because of his Jewish identity. This was the first direct conflict between father and son, neither willing to back down, until Mitzi began receiving psychological treatment, and the confrontation finally subsided as time passed. Sammy could no longer bear to give up his dreams, and finally couldn't resist opening the camera's packaging, holding his beloved device and listening to the faint sounds inside. The next day, he found Claudia and confessed to her his lie from the previous day. However, Claudia was perceptive. If Sammy had been lying at the time, how could he have known that the girl was a redhead? Clearly, Sammy still appeared naive and inexperienced. But this misunderstanding unexpectedly brought him an opportunity, allowing him to meet Claudia's friend Monica. Monica is enthusiastic, cheerful, kind-hearted, and does not mind Sammy's Jewish identity, even inviting him to her home, hoping to purify his Jewish soul through the power of Jesus. At that moment, it was as if a beam of light shone into the gloom in Sammy's heart. The two quickly became friends, appreciated each other, and kissed. Soon after, Monica proactively visited Sammy's home, bringing joy to the whole family. Learning that Sammy loved photography, she generously provided advanced camera equipment at home and encouraged Sammy to shoot a graduation short film-themed skipping class day for the class. Thus, Sammy picked up the camera again and rekindled his lost dream of directing. The lively beach became an excellent filming location, and the youthful radiance was more dazzling than the sunshine. He documented a day of classmates playing on the beach. The laughter and joy echoed in the sky for a long time. With no dialogue, the camera was the best language, and Sammy always managed to capture the most touching moments. Soon after, Bert, having saved enough money, moved into a spacious house with his family. Everyone was delighted, except Mitzi. She could no longer bear the pain of missing Benny and decided to confess everything to her family. The sisters found it hard to accept this reality, crying and arguing uncontrollably. Bert took all the blame upon himself. Only Sammy sat quietly aside, like an outsider. He had long anticipated this day, but did not expect it to come so suddenly. He did not try to persuade or blame, because he understood that his mother would eventually leave. When his sister accused Sammy of being indifferent, he did not explain much, only played for her the deleted scenes from the family documentary. At that moment, his sister finally understood how much pain her brother had silently endured all along. Soon, Sammy attended his high school graduation prom. Everyone dressed up to attend, just to show their best side. Sammy confided in Monica about his plan to drop out and pursue his dream of making movies, hoping she would continue to stay by his side. However, Monica had her own life plans. She silently returned the necklace Sammy had given her, silently announcing the end of their relationship. Sammy found it hard to accept at first, but realized that from now on, he could only walk this path alone. After the prom, a documentary filmed by Sammy was shown as the finale, and everyone looked forward to it eagerly. Only the school bully looked at the screen with a worried expression. This was Sammy's commemorative film. He had feared that Sammy would take the opportunity to retaliate or tarnish his image, but unexpectedly, Sammy placed him in a highlight moment, with every shot showing his most handsome side. The audience cheered, and the atmosphere reached a climax, leaving the bully surprised. Even Claudia was captivated by it, unable to resist rekindling old feelings and actively kissing him. After the dance ended, the school bully found Sammy and questioned him why he wanted to humiliate himself. Clearly having been bullied by him countless times, Sammy not only did not retaliate, but instead made him shine so brightly. Guilt drove the bully to ask for the reason, and he chased after Sammy, unwilling to leave. This entanglement finally caused Sammy to erupt completely, criticizing the bully's arrogance and even admitting that Sammy's monkey at home was better than him. The reason he filmed the bully to make him look dazzling was only to hope that the bully could treat him better, even if only for 5 minutes. This statement pierced the bully's defenses. He was not as perfect as in the image, but that was exactly the kind of person he longed to be. Sammy inadvertently revealed a soft spot deep in his heart. At this moment, the bully's friends arrived angrily and rushed at Sammy, but were stopped by the bully. This is the charm of movies. They can change a person. A single sentence melted the grudges between the two. The bully begged Sammy not to mention his loss of composure to anyone. In the corridor, sunlight was pouring down. At parting, the bully told Sammy that life is ultimately not a movie. No matter how much it is beautified, it cannot hide the cruelty of reality. Now Sammy no longer cared about these. The two exchanged the most polite greetings. That day, after returning home, Sammy gloomily told his mother about breaking up with his girlfriend. His mother comforted him, saying he should do what he truly wants and live for himself. This was also the last heart-to-heart talk between mother and son. Soon after, Bert divorced Mitzi, and Sammy went to Los Angeles with Bert to develop his career, while Mitzi returned to New Jersey with her daughters and built a new family with Benny. Occasionally, his mother would send Sammy some photos. Confronted with the familiar warm smile in the photos, Sammy was momentarily unsure whether to feel happy or sad. When Bert saw the family photo of his ex-wife and Benny, he couldn't help but feel sorrowful, realizing that if he continued to cling to the status quo, he would only bring more pain to those around him. He finally agreed to Sammy dropping out of school. Meanwhile, Sammy received a letter from Columbia Pictures offering him a position as a camera assistant. From this moment, fate opened a door to his dreams. On his first day at work, the boss, reviewing Sammy's self-recommendation letter, looked thoughtful and then asked if he was willing to meet the greatest director of all time. With the boss's recommendation, Sammy nervously met his idol, director John Ford, and had a 5-minute conversation. However, John was completely different from Sammy's imagination. His face bore lipstick marks, he appeared silently, and immediately asked Sammy, "What is art?" and requested him to interpret the painting on the wall behind him. Sammy's formal answer did not satisfy the director. John told Sammy, "The horizon at the bottom is interesting, at the top is interesting, but in the middle, it is extremely dull." Subsequently, this eccentric John rudely asked Sammy to leave the office. It was this brief conversation that suddenly enlightened Sammy. He realized he had not come to the wrong place. There was still so much to learn. This place was so magnificent, like a paradise. Looking to the future, the prospects are broader than the sky. If you don't believe it, just lift the camera a little higher.